Hello, my name is Lilian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about itchy scalp with Locs. I'll be telling you guys what could be causing your itchy scalp, how you can prevent itchy scalp, and what you can do to fix and what you can do to fix itchy scalp if you're experiencing that right now. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. This video is brought to you by Panda. Like, there are so many things that can cause your scalp to be itchy, especially if you have locks. And before you can find a solution, you have to find out what it is that is causing the itching in the first place, because different causes have different treatments. So first off, we're going to be starting with things that you can do, things that can cause itchy scalp, things that can make your scalp itchy. And for each thing I mentioned, I'll be telling you what you can do to treat it. Now, the first thing that can cause your scalp to be itchy is if your scalp is thirsty. So many people talk about moisturizing hair, putting water in your locks, or like rose water and all that on your locks, and then oiling your scalp. But what many people don't talk about is putting water on your scalp. Like, sometimes your scalp can become itchy, especially for those people who go very long without washing their hair, without washing their locks, and people who go very long without putting water in their hair. Basically, your scalp can get thirsty, and if your scalp gets thirsty, it becomes itchy because whether you like it or not, your scalp needs water. So many people who have locks, this is something that they experience, but they really don't know what could be the cause. Like, I've gotten so many messages from you guys complaining that, hey, like, I oil my scalp, I feel like I moisturize my hair and all, but my scalp is so itchy. And when I tell them that it could be that your scalp is just thirsty, go ahead and like spray some water in your scalp, and many people come back to them that, oh, like, I had no idea that my scalp can get itchy because of it being thirsty. You know, sometimes your scalp needs that moisture from water. It needs to, you know, drink in water for it to not be dehydrated, you know. So this is something, if your scalp is itchy, most times, like, try this. Go ahead and spray some water on your scalp, massage the water into your scalp, and make sure you expose your scalp and allow it to dry. You don't want to keep your scalp wet for long, right? What you're trying to do is you're spraying water into your hair and allowing your hair to absorb some of the water, and making sure that the excess of water that still remains on your hair evaporates, it dries out. So another thing you can do to treat this kind of this cause of itchy scalp is, if you're someone that you usually have hot showers, right? When you get in the shower, you can like try to expose your scalp so that the steam of your shower can help to like just moisten your scalp a little bit and help relieve the itching. Like, your scalp needs to drink water from time to time, and this is something that so many people don't talk about, and this is something that many of us experience, and we think that, oh, it is the product I'm using, it is this, it is that. Meanwhile, it's just something as basic as putting some moisture in your scalp, like allowing your scalp to drink some water. Like, that's just like the basics that can help to relieve this type of itchy scalp. The next thing that can cause itchy scalp is that your scalp is dry and flaky. Now, this is different from your scalp being thirsty. You know, you can be oiling your scalp, you can be, you know, putting products on your scalp, and your scalp will still be thirsty because the oil and the products don't have enough water that can help to like moisten your scalp and nourish your scalp. You know, that's the first point I talked about. Now, for this one, your scalp can be itchy when it is dry and when it is flaky. Now, when your scalp is dry and flaky, chances are that your scalp is not lubricated in any way. So most likely you don't have any oils in it, and also your scalp is not hydrated. So it's like a mixture of dry scalp and it's a mixture of dry scalp in the sense that your scalp is not hydrated, like your scalp is not moist, no water nearby, right? It's a mixture of that, and also the fact that your scalp is not lubricated in any way, and so your scalp is flaky. Sometimes just applying oil can help to relieve the itchiness temporarily, but if you want to get like a deep, nice result, you want to spray some water lightly on your scalp, then apply some oil, massage it in, and make sure that the water dries out properly, and you see that your scalp will remain itch free for like a very long time. So oiling, like, not everyone is going to need to oil their scalp. Not everyone is going to be prone to having flaky scalp from dryness, because some people produce a lot of sebum, such that like their scalp actually do not need oils, external oils, right? There are some people like that, but for many other people, you need oil. Your scalp needs some oil for it to not be dry and not be flaky. So for if you're someone like that, I highly recommend that you include an oil into your regimen. Now my favorite oil to use is Jamaican black castor oil. I feel like it's just like really amazing, and because of the texture of the oil, I feel like it's very similar to sebum, because sebum is like thick. I feel like because of the texture of the oil, it's very similar to the sebum, and it helps to relieve itchy scalp, like, and it remains on your scalp for a very long time, such that it keeps your scalp itch free for a very, very long time. So if you're someone that you're experiencing dryness, you can see that your scalp is dry, it is flaky, and it is itchy, the chances are that your scalp is itchy because of the dryness and the flakes on it. Now, another thing that can cause itchy scalp is retwists or interlock, or generally maintaining your locks. Now, this can happen if you maintain your locks tightly. So whether you retwist or interlock or crochet, if you do it tightly, you may experience itchy scalp. And this is if you're someone that you are usually free from itches, like your scalp usually itch free until when you have a retwist. There's a high chance that that is the cause of your itchy scalp. And the reason why this can be is, like sometimes when you shave or like when you wax, that area becomes like kind of sore and itchy for a while until when hair starts to grow back. Sometimes it's something like that happens with retwisting, because for many people, when they retwist their hair, when they retwist their locks, they tend to by making all the parts and like separating their hair, they tend to uproot strands of hair, and that makes, when you snap, it's like you're waxing. When you uproot your strand, like you're waxing, and so you may start to have itching, right? And that thing that can cause itchy scalp as a result of a retwist is just the fact that your scalp is now exposed. And this is usually common for people who freeform or for people who semi-freeform. And that's because your scalp is so used to like being covered, because like for people who freeform, their hair is thick at the roots, their scalp is like usually covered and protected from insects, from the atmosphere, from the weather conditions, the sun and all that, and so when you go ahead and retwist or maintain your locks, you now expose your scalp in different ways. And for some people, the fact that their scalp is now exposed can make their scalp itchy, because number one, your scalp is now exposed to the sun, the scorching sun. Another thing, your scalp is now exposed to the wind. If you stay in a very windy and dry environment, your scalp is now exposed to the wind. Another thing is your scalp, if you're someone that stays in an environment where you have insects, like so many insects flying all over the place, your scalp is now exposed to all those insects, and so there is free access for all those things to act on your scalp, and that can make your scalp itchy. How to fix this is just stop retwisting tightly, and whenever you retwist, try as much as you can not to uproot the strands of your hair while you're trying to make your part. Now, if you're someone that you don't do any of those things, you retwist carefully, you don't retwist too tight and the likes, but you still experience itching, and that's a sign that probably because your scalp is now exposed. So what you can do is, when your retwist is fresh, you can just cover your hair, at least cover your scalp area, so that it's not so exposed to the elements and like insects and the likes. That's something that you can do to treat and also prevent itchy scalp if the itchy scalp is as a result of retwisting. Now, another thing that can cause itchy scalp is lice, and this is something people don't talk about a lot, and I feel like we really need to be talking about lice, because I feel like for the longest time, Black people we believe that lice is a thing for white people. It's only white people that have lice, and that's understandably so, because for a very, very long time we've been used to wearing relaxers, like relaxing our hair every few months or so. And so the thing about relaxers is that relaxers are damaging to your hair, but relaxers also kill lice. So if peradventure you have done something, maybe you have been exposed to lice and you have lice in your hair, by the time you go ahead and relax your hair, the lice dies because of the chemicals in the relaxers. We are now prone to having lice in our hair because we are no longer using those harsh chemicals in our hair. We are using nourishing products that help to nourish lice. And for people who have locks, that's also very important, because people with natural hair, yes, they also have that extra step of combing their hair from time to time and brushing their hair and the likes. And when you comb and brush your hair, sometimes you can brush out lice. Now, for those of us that have locks, I feel like we are at a higher risk of, having lice in our hair, because we do not use those harmful chemicals anymore. Many of us use natural products and the likes, and we do not comb our hair, So if lice gets into your hair, it will most likely just remain there and just, continue to grow and breed and like just flourish, So I feel like it's very, very important for you to be cautious and make sure that you prevent having lice in your hair as much as you can. And that's something that I feel like so many of us don't talk about. If you're someone that you usually do your hair yourself, usually do your locks yourself, your chances of having lice is kind of low. But if you are always sharing tools with so many people, obviously lice can move from tools. Like you can contact lice by getting, like, using tool, maybe like a comb, like a rattle comb, or like something that someone else that has lice has used, that can put lice into your hair. Now if your partner has lice, or your child has lice, or your pet has lice, your chances of getting lice is a lot higher, because the lice can get, many of us that keep pets, especially those of us that have dogs in our houses, you need to be very, very careful. You need to be very cautious. You need to be careful where your dog goes to. You need to be careful the places your dogs visits, because once your dog has lice, it will most likely be transferred into your hair and into your locks. And sometimes, especially because those of us with locks, we have very thick hair, when you have lice, you may just be noticing that your scalp is itchy, but even when you look at it, you may not be able to see that you have lice in your hair or in your locks. So you really need to be cautious, right? Another thing that I feel like so many people do that make them prone to having lice is, apart from sharing tools, is for people who go to get their hair done in with locticians. You need to be careful who you allow into your hair. You need to make sure that your loctician is like does things in a hygienic fashion, because some people who some locticians, they don't go ahead and sterilize their tools when they move from one client to another. They just go ahead and use the same towels, the same combs and brushes and all the likes from one client to another, without actually making sure that they go ahead and sterilize, cleanse, wash and all that, to prevent all those lice and all that from moving from one client to the other. Another thing is those locticians that have extremely long nails. If a loctician has like extremely long nails, and then they do hair for someone, they maintain someone's hair with lice, and immediately, without cleansing their hair, their hands, washing their hands, they move ahead to your own hair, like you can transfer the lice from that person's head to your own head. And I feel like when the nails are extremely long, sometimes even when you wash your hands, if you are not careful, if you don't really go ahead and like check inside your nails, you may have the lice like quietly hiding under the long nails. I know that some people may be like, wow, why is she like scaring people, and like why is she just being so paranoid? But you guys really need to be careful who you allow into your head, who you allow into your hair, so yeah, you can get lice now that you have looked, like your chance of getting lice is a lot higher. But don't worry, if you have lice, that's not the end of the world. What you can do to treat lice is using neem leaves. Now, for those of you who are in Nigeria, many of you may not know, neem is, in Nigeria, many people call it dogoyaro. The Hausas call it dogoyaro. So if you are maybe in Lagos or in any northern states, you go to the market to ask for dogoyaro, for like those places where you can find like herbs and all that, you are most likely going to find neem, right? So what you want to do is, most people blend the neem leaves, make a paste of it, apply on their scalp, cover for a while to kill the lice before they go ahead and wash it out, But for people who have lice now, if you're putting neem leaves into your hair in the paste, you also need to be careful and make sure that you wash it out properly, because if you don't wash it out properly, that can cause buildup. But you can actually get rid of lice by using neem in your hair. Now, another thing that can cause itchy scalp is like skin conditions, things like psoriasis, eczema, dandruff, all those things can cause itchy scalp. Now, if you're someone that you notice that you have done the things that are within your power, you don't retwist tightly, you have moisturized your scalp, you have hydrated your scalp, oiled your scalp and all that, and you have checked carefully and you see that you don't have lice and all that, chances are, if your scalp is still itchy, there's a high chance that maybe you have a skin condition. So you can call someone, maybe your mom or someone like a family member or like a close friend, to help inspect your scalp to see if you have any like scalp condition that I have mentioned, or some other things that I've not mentioned. And if you have anything like that, then you want to go ahead and see your doctor. The best way that you can treat those things, eczema, psoriasis and all those skin conditions, is definitely to go and see your doctor. Now, if you have dandruff, the difference between dandruff and dry scalp is like, for many people it looks similar, right? But the thing about dandruff is even after you have washed your hair, like you still have it there. As soon as your hair dries, like you can see the dandruff. While for dry scalp, as soon as you go ahead and just oil your scalp, like the dryness, the flakes go away. But for dandruff, the flakes don't go away even after you have moisturized your scalp, and even after you have like maybe washed your scalp, you may still see the dandruff in there. So that's the main difference, right? So if what you have is dandruff, I feel like there are so many DIYs that I can use to treat dandruff. One of the things that I've seen work is lime. Now personally, I feel like if you're someone that uses Dudu Ocean black soap, that helps a lot. Because earlier when I had loose natural hair, like for like the first 2 years of my loose natural hair journey, or so, like for the first year or so, I noticed that I was suffering from dandruff. But as soon as I started using Dudu Ocean black soap to wash my hair, it helped to treat the dandruff. Now I no longer have dandruff. So if you have dandruff, I recommend that you give Dudu Ocean black soap a try. I feel like that really helps to treat dandruff. So you can give that a try if you're interested. And there are so many other shampoos that help to treat dandruff. I really don't know anyone from personal experience, but you can look into that. And you can also ask your doctor. Like some doctors actually have very, very good recommendation for you. So if your itchy scalp is as a result of skin conditions, then definitely go see your dermatologist. Another thing that can cause itchy scalp is when your scalp is too wet. Now I mentioned earlier that your scalp can be itchy when your scalp is thirsty and dehydrated, right? And that thing that can cause itchy scalp is when your scalp is too wet, like when you wet your scalp and don't allow it to dry. When your scalp is wet for a very long time, it will make your scalp itchy. And that's why I mentioned earlier that when I was talking about dryness, if you go ahead and spray water in your scalp, you need to expose your scalp and make sure that the water dries completely before you go ahead and like wrap it up in any way. If you leave your scalp wet for too long, it can cause your scalp to be itchy, because when the scalp is not created to remain wet for long, right? So make sure that anytime you wet your hair, anytime you wet your scalp, make sure that it dries properly within a few hours. Now another thing that is dangerous when it comes to keeping your scalp wet for too long is if you keep your scalp wet for too long, that creates a good breeding ground for fungi and like microorganisms to grow and build on your scalp, and that can eventually cause skin conditions on your scalp. So leaving your scalp wet for a very long time is never a good idea. And in one of my videos I was telling you guys that even when you sweat, like sometimes it's not even necessarily about maybe when you wet your hair or when you wet your hair, like you wash your hair and all that. Sometimes your own sweat can actually make your scalp wet for too long, and can also cause all these like fungal infections and all these skin conditions that I mentioned earlier, you know. So you want to make sure that even when you sweat, if you're someone that you're very active, you work out a lot, you move a lot, and you tend to sweat a lot on your scalp, make sure that you allow your scalp to dry. One thing I recommend is invest in a very good standing fan. So or even if it's a ceiling fan, but just make sure that when your scalp is wet, scatter your hair. If you want, you can put your hair in several ponytails just to expose your scalp. Put your head near a fan and just allow the air to dry your scalp. This works a lot, and I feel like this is much better than using a blow dryer. I don't recommend drying your hair with a blow dryer, especially your scalp. I don't recommend drying your scalp with a blow dryer, and that's because I feel like the blow dryer actually it dries your scalp, like it evaporates the water, but the heat can also make your scalp itchy, right? And that thing is, it sometimes, like, the blow dryer over dries your hair, and so it eventually makes your scalp dry and crusty. So I don't recommend using a blow dryer. I feel like a fan works very, very well. So invest in a good fan, preferably a standing fan. Put your hair near it, expose your scalp, and that would help to dry your scalp even after sweating or after washing your hair. Another thing that can cause itchy scalp is product buildup or dirt buildup. Now this is particularly true for people who don't wash their locks or who don't wash their hair often. So if you're someone that you don't usually wash your hair in months and months, your itchy scalp is most likely as a result of product buildup or dirt buildup. Because whether you like it or not, our hair attracts dirt and dust. So if you leave that in your hair for a long period of time, it accumulates on your scalp and suffocates your scalp, and that can make your scalp itchy. So I highly recommend that you get on a good routine of washing your locks regularly, washing your hair regularly. And what you can actually do to treat it is basically just go ahead and wash your hair. So if you're someone that you have not washed your hair in a very long time and your scalp is itchy, chances are it's itchy because you have not washed. So once you go ahead and wash your hair or wash your locks, your scalp will be as good as new. Another thing that can cause itchy scalp is excessive alcohol consumption. For those of us that like to drink a lot, the thing about alcohol is that it dries you up. It dries you out. you know, it makes your skin dry. Your scalp is part of your skin, it makes your scalp dry. And that thing is, it affects the integrity of the sebum that you produce. So I've mentioned severally in my previous videos that your sebum is like the best thing that can happen to your hair and your scalp, right? Because your hair, your scalp naturally produces sebum. For some people, their scalp produce more sebum than others, you know, but basically everyone's scalp produces a certain level of sebum, and that's like the first thing that helps to nourish your hair and nourish your scalp. Now, if you drink a lot of alcohol, chances are that your sebum becomes drying for your hair and for your scalp, you know, and that eventually, like I said earlier, when your scalp is dry, it becomes itchy. So if you're someone that you're always drinking alcohol, that can make your scalp itchy. And what you can do to fix it is stop drinking as much alcohol and drink water instead, you know. This also leads me to my next point of another reason why your scalp may be dry is because you're not drinking enough water. When you're not drinking enough water, you're going to be hydrated. That means your skin is going to be dehydrated, and that also includes your scalp. So replace alcohol with water, drink more water, drink less alcohol, and that's basically what you can do to prevent itchy scalp from dehydration from the inside, or itchy scalp from drinking too much alcohol. Another thing that can cause itchy scalp is eating too much junk food. Now, like I said earlier, your sebum is the integrity of your sebum generally affects what you consume, rather generally affects the integrity of your sebum. So if you're eating junk food, your sebum is going to be junk. It's not going to be as nourishing as someone who is eating healthy, you know. So it's always a good idea to eat healthy, and also the things you eat affect the quality of your skin and all over your body, including the skin on your scalp. So if you're always eating a lot of junk food, no healthy foods, no nutritious foods, that will affect your scalp, right? And that can also make it dry, because your scalp is not going to get enough nutrient that it needs, and that eventually makes it dry. So now those are all the things that I want to share with you guys when it comes to things that can cause itchy scalp. And like as I have mentioned earlier, I've mentioned what can cause it and what you can do to treat it. Now let's go ahead and talk about what you can do to prevent itchy scalp altogether. So if you're someone that you don't have itchy scalp, or maybe you had itchy scalp and now you have treated it but you don't want it to ever come again, now let's talk about things that you can do to prevent itchy scalp. The first thing you want to do to prevent itchy scalp is obviously keep your scalp hydrated and lubricated. So what I mean is, from time to time, make sure you go ahead and moisten your scalp, and you also want to make sure that your scalp is always like lubricated with an oil, or like basically an oil. And if you're someone that you produce enough sebum, you want to make sure that you massage your scalp to distribute the sebum all over your scalp, so that your scalp always remains lubricated, like oiled, and not too oiled. Because another thing that can, like I mentioned, that I forgot to mention earlier, that can cause itchy scalp is when you have too much product on your scalp, when your scalp is greasy. Like I said, if your scalp is dry, it can be itchy. Now if your scalp is too greasy, it can also be itchy. So if you're someone that likes to put a lot of oils on it, chances are that excess oil can also make your scalp itchy. So you need to find a balance. Like, moderation is key. Yes, putting oils on your scalp can be really beneficial, but you don't want to overdo it. Another thing that can help to prevent itchy scalp is making sure that your scalp is always dry, in the sense that it's like you don't keep your scalp wet for too long, because when your scalp is wet for too long, that can also make it itchy. Another thing that can help to prevent itchy scalp is stay away from tight styles, stay away from tight retwists, and as much as you can, try not to pop your locks whenever you retwist, so you don't go ahead of putting your scalp and making it itch. Another thing that you want to do to prevent itchy scalp is keep your scalp clean. Always. as much as you can, make sure that your scalp is always clean. Another thing is, do not share hair tools with people. Try as much as you can to have your own tools that you use for your hair. Have your own towel that you use, have your own t-shirts that you use, have your own combs that you use, that you like. If you like to use combs, have your own brushes that you use. Don't lay your head anywhere, you know. Try to make sure that you keep your pets away from like lice infested environments and lice infested animals and people, right? You also want to pay attention to the kind of people you allow into your hair. This has to do with friends and family who do your hair, or like who play in your hair, and also people like locticians and stylists that you allow into your hair. Some locticians are like very dirty, let's be honest. Like, some stylists are very dirty. They do not pay attention to sanitizing their tools. For those locticians that have extremely long nails, make sure that whenever you go to all those locticians with extremely long nails, make sure that they are cleaning their nails before they do your hair. Just be cautious, right? I think some time of saying this because like those extremely long nails are actually in right now. Everyone is getting those extremely long nails, but just make sure that your loctician is aware that you can, you know, move lice around. You can transmit lice from one client to the other by those extremely long nails, and make sure that your loctician cares about you and is cautious, and make sure that from after doing one person's hair or one person's locks, they make sure to go ahead and clean up their nails, clean up their tools before they move on to your own hair. Try to like inspect your hair, inspect your scalp often from time to time, so that whenever you're starting to develop like all these skin conditions on your scalp, you know early on and get treatment. It's also nice to be on a schedule, like on a routine of going to have like general body checkup. That includes checking your skin, checking your scalp and all the like, so that you notice things as soon as they are trying to raise their ugly hairs, and then you go ahead and treat them. Reduce your intake of alcohol and drink a lot of water. And another thing that's also similar to what I said earlier is be careful where you lay your head, because some of all those, apart from the fact that lice can be transmitted from one person to the other, some of these skin conditions on your scalp can also be transmitted from one person to the other. So you want to make sure that whenever you go to like a salon or like to get your hair done, make sure that your loctician sterilizes their tools, so that just in case the person that came earlier had a skin condition on their scalp, the loctician sanitizes all the tools that they use. Or better still, just go with your own tools. Like if you can't, go with your own tools, and make sure the loctician goes ahead to wash their hands properly and clean their nails properly before they do your hair. And I know that may sound weird, and that may seem like you're being difficult when you go to all these salons to get your hair done. People may give you names, but it's better for them to give you names and call you difficult and call you all sorts of names than for you to be walking around with skin conditions on your scalp, or for you to be walking around with lice. So be smart, you guys. You're going to yes, you're going to get your hair done. The person is doing you a favor, obviously, because you're going to get your hair done because you don't have the strength or like the energy to do it yourself, or you don't have the knowledge to do it yourself. But you're also paying for the service. Like, it is not free. So you should make sure that you go there you pay for the service and leave fulfilled. Like, you don't go and pay for problem, you don't go and pay to have lice in your hair, you don't go and pay to have, you know, eczema on your scalp just because you want to be nice. You don't want them to give you bad name. If you are going to a loctician to do your hair, make sure that you're paying for the services, you're not paying for trouble. So those are all the things I have to share with you guys. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if this is your first time on my channel and you'd like to see more videos from me, definitely subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.